Tom Scotto.
Hey.
Welcome to Monday Morning Muse.
Thank you.
Today we're doing kind of a crossover from my usual format of Monday Morning Muse, because you are a musician.
Okay.
Also, like me, you're a cyclist.
Yes.
Now, I am organizing a small team to cycle the American Diabetes Association Tour de Cure. And I will link that in this episode. I'm excited because I've never done an official ride before.
Okay. Oh,
I'm going to do 15 miles. I know that you're not going to be there, but you and I both, you have a cool tattoo of a bicycle chain. Yeah, I'm like, I might want to get one of those at some point. But we met back in the winter in Zoomies.
Yeah.
An amazing coffee shop in Ipswich, Massachusetts. And we talked about cycling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me one thing you think I should know for my first official ride, where I'm doing something where there's going to be a lot of people all cycling together.
Just eat and hydrate well. It's one of those things that people forget because they get all excited, and sometimes people get nervous, and a lot of people don't eat well. Some people eat a lot when they're nervous, which actually will benefit you on the bike. But yeah, a lot of people just don't fuel properly. They just think, it's only 15 miles. Like, depending on, maybe 15 miles is a lot, a little, depending on what someone does. But sometimes the excitement of all the people and the event, and even if it pulls at your heartstrings, those things really can take energy. Not energy that's giving and whatever, but it can take the physical fuel and energy, and instead of being able to enjoy not necessarily the event, I always find that people have enough energy for the event, but it's afterwards when you want to bask in the glow, you wind up with a drop because your fuel, particularly technically your glycogen, your sugar levels start to drop. So yeah, just keep eating and stay fueled.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And those are things that I think people who are doing a ride or any special anything tend to hear from people, but we forget to take it to heart. I think because I'm rehabilitating from a spinal injury, and every day I'm still in this process of how much physical activity will I do today. It's especially salient because this is, 2 and almost 3 weeks away. It's close. I would say about 2 days a week right now, I feel up to cycling for 15 miles. But I'm not doing that this most weeks, because working on teaching yoga, doing work around the house, cycling just to get errands done, all of these things that my body needs to do, it all takes energy. And I'm strategizing in my head around the way that I'll need to rest for a couple days prior to the event. Just do restorative yoga. And the day after, I'll probably keep clear so that I really have time for my body to recover. So thank you for that.
Can I tell you a quick story that was
Please
kind of fun?
do, yeah.
So back when I was coaching cycling full time, I had a bunch of different clients. Some of them were competitive riders, and some of them were recreational riders. Some of them were just doing events. Anyway, I had a gentleman who was doing the fast ride across America. So there's a race across America, which a lot of the RAM, which a lot of people are familiar with, which they do in 7 days at some crazy speed. And then this was a month, but it's a lot, and I've never done it. It's more than I've done. So anyway, I trained them for it, and part of it was they were super fit. They were really a fast cyclist, and I was trying to get them to slow down a little bit, because it's not about how fast you can go. It's about the endurance and being able to do that every single day. So long story short, I coached them on their diet as well as their training and everything. Week 1, they're in there, and we're staying in touch. They're texting me back and forth, and how's it going? And they're I'm having the worst time. I'm oh, what's going on? I just can't get enough food. And it's and this person again was very cycling in shape, and he said a lot of the other people didn't look like they were in that good of shape, but they just can go all the time and all day long. And I said, okay, well, you need to start eating more. So after the 3rd day, they were complaining about the same thing, I asked him what he was eating, and he was trying to eat like all this like really rigid, healthy stuff.
Okay.
And I said, well, what do you like to eat? And again, he was giving me examples like, well, I like, salads with tomatoes. I'm like, no, you're not hearing me. Like when you're cheating, and like, what do you like to eat? And he's like, and he was like really like almost like a kid, like pizza. Going, okay, all right, keep going.
Keep going.
And he's like ice cream, and then he's like Snickers bars, and like once his brain started,
yes,
and like that's what I want you to be eating. And he's like, what? I'm like, obviously eat the healthy stuff, but if it's all you can eat are Pop-Tarts and pizza and Snickers bars and whatever. My favorites are, like whoopie pies.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then like literally 4 days later, he's like, I'm having the best time ever. And it was great. So it was like, but he thought it was really odd from someone who's, he's supposed to be this like, strict cycling coach with all the regiments and whatever. But it's like, your body's got to get fuel. And if, you've got the adrenaline of the event and the thought of like, in his case, like 30 days of going across the country through various like temperature zones and in the mountains and I'm like, you got to let some of that stuff go. Just like if you feel like eating something, it's going to put some fuel in your body. Just do it. So anyway, if you feel like eating some pizza or whoopie pie, have at it.
Well, I appreciate that perspective too, because I have long ago when I worked with a psychiatrist around like food, but also I was being forced to take a psychotropic medication at the time. I was told by the psychiatrist, you need to eat meat. Like, don't be a vegetarian anymore.
Okay.
And, he kind of looked at like all of my ancestry and the fact that, all of my ancestral heritage comes from people who ate meat. Now, I am not someone who says everybody has to eat meat. And I look forward to a day when I am maybe either pescatarian or like not like, and I don't eat meat that often at this point. But some dairy and some protein in the form of chicken or fish, that kind of thing, does really help me. And he was saying it in the context of like, you have a brain that moves unusually fast, and the brain consumes a lot of fuel. You've wasted away, you've lost 20 pounds, you're trying to do a diet that maybe isn't actually good for you, for your brain, for all of the aspects of your health. I am always like trying to remind everybody that there are different bodies that have different needs. And I'd love to like learn how to kill deer and like eat that kind of lean protein at some point. But, living in Somerville, I'm not doing that now.
They don't have time to come out. They don't have any deer crossing signs or anything.
Yeah, it's not really a thing here. So maybe I'll live somewhere someday. Who knows? But the point is, we do what we must, and I appreciate that feedback.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good observation as far as like different activities, because sometimes we think, well, I was really physical today, so I'm going to consume whatever food for physicality, as opposed to I had a heavier emotional or mental load today. And I shared with you recently getting diagnosed with ADHD and going on Vyvanse, and how it's really like revolutionized and kind of brought me back to the person that I hoped I would be. But I also, because it's now so much more connective and emotional, and I have so much more affection, it taps into different sort of energies. And then I find myself like really, really energetic, like when I get up till about 5 in the afternoon, and I notice if I didn't have enough fuel, because I burn so much emotional energy in the morning, I start to feel a drop. And as I've started to pay attention to that and fuel it properly, I can stabilize my day. But I wasn't accounting for like, I didn't work out today, so I don't need as much fuel. But meanwhile, my brain and my emotions are running at full capacity, and they're like, no, we need food. So.
Well, I'm also really interested. Like, my friend Cedric back in the wintertime gave me this vegan protein powder that I put in a smoothie most days now. And that seems to have reduced my need for, like, I haven't had meat in days, and, like, I think I'm doing pretty well. So I think all of it does also matter in terms of the way you're supplementing and all of those things, So,
absolutely.
like, all bodies, like, things also have so much to do with access. Like, back over the winter, I ate a lot of, like, McDonald's and Burger King and Wendy's because I had no money. And, like, nobody was Venmoing me to make sure that I could like go to Whole Foods and get like fancy whatever.
Sure.
So I'm like glad that I'm in a place that's stable enough now that I'm like able to buy things from the places that
Yeah.
I want to go. And also like I'm glad that I could eat those, you know, chicken nuggets and milkshakes when I
Nothing wrong with
needed
chicken
to.
nuggets and milkshakes, yeah,
I
so.
mean, you know, we'll stop talking about nutrition now.
Yeah.
But also, but the concept of cheating and doing that in the context of like being flexible. I think
Mhm.
a lot of this comes down to a flexible mind state
Yeah.
and not punishing oneself
Mhm.
or getting overly judgmental of others around the ways we are fueling.
Mhm.
I think there's so many layers of that when it comes to both the way we relate to ourselves, the way we
Sure.
relate to others, and bodies on the planet.
Yeah.
So many aspects that we're discerning for ourselves, right?
Well, we were talking before we hit record about, you know, the definition of normal. And, you know, I mean, I feel like this fits, you know, perfectly in there because, like, I look at, like, processes have their place, but I tend to operate in frameworks because I think processes can be very rigid. And if you don't meet a certain level of the process, whatever it is, whether it's, you know, technology, your own personal journey, whatever that normal thing is that you do, you can start judging yourself for it. Like, oh, I'm not having the best day. And then you're like, okay, why am I not having the best day? Because you didn't follow the process or because something else happened. And sometimes the process can be one of the things that cascades into I'm not having a normal day or I'm not doing the thing. And then you start judging, that other voice comes in and you start judging yourself. So I think thinking more, I mean, the way I term it is probably not how everybody terms it, but, you know, the framework of here's the general thing I'm trying to do, and based on what's in front of me today and the factors and who I'm talking to and the setting, here's how the outcome's going to look. But it might be different if I was doing it with different people in a different environment, different time of the year. I mean, I'm in a different headspace. Like all those things don't get accounted for. We just like rigidly tell ourselves, you failed or you didn't succeed to the level you could have. So, yeah, and we walk around with that.
Yeah. Okay. I love that we're getting into this conversation because you and I are both consultants and coaches. And tell me a little bit about the people you tend to work with or the organizations you tend to work with.
Sure. So yeah, I consult at a number of different levels. You know, we've talked a bit about like my background. So I have a background in cycling. I have a background in music. I went to Berklee College of Music, which I had a brilliant time with. And then I've been in sort of the technology proper setting, like senior systems engineer, like really kind of the full geek mode. But most of my time has been spent in started more the graphic design, like, you know, almost 30 years ago, which was like very print based, which we don't do a ton of nowadays. And that forayed into like software design and things of that nature. But now I'm more in sort of what they call the user experience design space.
Okay.
So a lot more of it, even though design is often the outcome, the way of getting there is understanding people and their behaviors and, you know, what makes someone desire to engage with something. And some of the background in which, like the foundation of which my design world is laid on is information architecture. That sounds like a big fancy word, but it's just like the structuring, hierarchy, classification, prioritization of things.
Okay.
And the reason why that came to be for me is because of the ADHD, which I didn't know I had back in the day because they didn't have diagnoses for that. You were just a troubled, loud, annoying little kid. So I had to figure some of these systems out myself, and part of it was like structure. Like I learned that structure really helps my brain, and how I consume information helps me retain it, helps me like organize it and be able to use it. So that just forayed into like, that's a great design, but what is it enabling someone to do? You know, are they able to digest it and take an action based on what you created? And that's not like art where everything has to have like, sometimes you can just look at something and enjoy it. But in the world of software design and product design, there's a purpose is to appeal to the customer or whoever it is. So
yeah.
that was a long answer to my consulting piece. But
Well, I love that. I also like. I really enjoy talking to friends who are in tech spaces more than I prefer to be. I'm very proficient in technology spaces, and you already know that at this moment in time, for the past, it's really gone on for about 2 years, but it's only been, it hasn't even been fully diagnosed because I need to go to probably special eye doctor space for this. I have a lot of sensitivity, photosensitivity, and I had known that kind of for a while, but I tend to get tension headaches with the concurrent spinal injury that I have. When I look at a screen for more than a couple hours.
Yeah.
And, I have glasses now that I finally got in January, February, and that does help, right? Because it's addressing like a little bit of, just eyes changing. I'm not sure that it's fully addressing the degrees of like sensitivity to blue light and the different lights emitted by screens. So eventually like that will happen, but life transition makes these things slower to happen.
And being aware of it and trying to do something about it is important. So
we're kind of in that space of talking about sensitivities and bodies. We're going to move in the direction of talking about creative energy, because I think one of the things you and I both do well is read other humans.
Sure.
And we've talked a little bit, probably considerably, but we're not going to get into it deeply for the purpose of this conversation, about our experiences in churches and religious spaces.
And do a whole other thing on that.
And maybe we will at some point.
Sure.
Yeah. Creatively, I was so uplifted and helped as a young person through being identified as a talented singer from the age I was 4, and worked with Gene McIntyre in God's Kiss in Havertown, Pennsylvania, at the United Presbyterian Church of Manoa. Like, that was my experience as a child, having that church to go back to. And then I started directing that church performing arts group when I was 17. And there could not have been a better place for me from the ages of 17 to 22, when I graduated from college, to really become an expert music educator. And I say expert because it both came naturally to me, since I'd gotten to work with incredible music educators, starting with Gene.
Sure.
But also because I got, I was in church music, I was in also educational spaces, and I live and breathe being a voice person. So when I work with humans, I'm working with resonant energy, and voice is kind of one of the ways that I work with humans. And I like to joke about, I like to joke because it's a sensitive area for a lot of us, working with our various privileges, right? And I recognize that to some degree I have pretty privilege, and certainly white privilege. A lot of people make assumptions based on, we all make assumptions based on what we perceive in other people. But one form of privilege that I joke about is Disney princess voice privilege, because I can sing and have people fall asleep. I'm not like a magical witch. I just like have a nice voice. And I think it's also something that people feel calmed by. And when you and I spoke kind of randomly in a cafe one day, I was like, I like his vibe. And I always know, for me, part of it is someone's voice. So when we found out that we both were musicians, at whatever point we figured that out, that was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. He's a vibe person too. He's got a good resonance to his voice and his energy.
Good to know.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts?
As far as the creativity aspect of it?
We're about to dive into this voice reclamation process, but I want I want to pause and give you a chance to reflect.
Yeah. Well, I think as you were talking, and I've not had this thought before, or at least it had not come to the forefront, is I was thinking of like my own creative journey. So like when I was younger, I started out, my dad was a historian and artist, so I learned how to oil paint and sculpt, and I did a lot of like antiquity repair. I used to do stuff with gesso and loved all of it, all different mediums. But I think the thing I struggled with, and this is just me, like I'm not putting this out there for all like artists, whether it be media or music or whatever, is I think I was trying to find my voice in there, like what made me feel good when I created a piece of art, a piece of music. And it's not that I didn't find any joy in that, but I think my journey has come, and I think the design piece, because it's a user experience design, so you're designing another person's experience. As I started to look at my design and particularly my music as how am I going to move someone else? Not, okay, this moves me, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I'm going to let somebody hear what moves me. But I've been paying more attention to what moves other people. And we just last weekend went to saw 2 shows, Dave Matthews in SPAC in Saratoga, and like one of our friends who was with us, yeah, she's not a musician, but she's always like asking me questions as a musician, like, well, how did this hit you, and what do you think about this? And she was making a comment about how they all were like playing these different things, almost like talking with their instruments to each other. And I said, yeah, I said, that's a brilliant observation. I said, because that's what it comes down to, for me, is when I played and practiced by myself, I felt very stale. Even though what I was playing was proficient, that was very good. I mean, I was okay as far as like a drummer. Like there were many, many drummers who surpassed me in technique and such. But when I was on stage, it was that I forgot about myself. Like I was not thinking about what is the notes I'm going to play, what kind of cool riff am I going to throw in there, how I'm going to transition this, whatever. I was not paying attention to me. I was paying attention to the other musicians, if it was multiple people, and I got lost. And I realized that's where my voice came from. It was combined with other people, not focused on myself. So I don't know if that even helps where we're going with it, but that was, you triggered that thought in my brain of, am I doing music because I'm trying to get something out that I feel? Or is it, do I get the enjoyment because I feel other people responding to what I'm doing? And I'm not even, they're not responding to what I'm doing, they're responding to what I'm hearing in them.
I love that. I love that you're naming that. And I think it's a great moment to dive into this process, because I have done a lot of work with humans in their voice over the years. You could call me a voice coach. I branded as a life coach and called the process, or called my little LLC, Total Resonance Coaching,
Okay, I like that.
back in the day. Now that I technically am still a licensed clinical social worker, but I'm no longer practicing as a therapist, but I'm going to move back into doing some life coaching, and I think this metric of voice and resonance is important. I created a Google Doc that is free and open to the public. I hope people will point others back to me as the originator if they choose to copy it and use it. But, once you put something on the internet, it's
People
out
do
there.
what people do,
And I actually feel very comfortable with that, because I think a lot of skilled voice people and creative coaches work in similar ways. You and I are both collaborators who love to be in group spaces and care very deeply about the humans that we collaborate with. You and I met up with Deb Schmel, who is, and Greg Warwick, 2 of my friends, at a different cafe at Chicoco, which has such good whoopie pies in Newburyport. And we had such a lovely time. Also, Emily, Deb's daughter, was there. And we just had this sense, and we talked about it afterwards, of just like a group of empaths who got to chill for a while.
Yeah.
And that collaborative vibe matters. And for anyone who is empathic, anyone who is in an artsy vibe or a life transition vibe, sometimes what we really need is to come back to our creative energy, which can be about voice, but even somebody who doesn't use their voice or doesn't think of themselves as a singer or a performer or a speaker needs to come back to their core.
Yeah.
Right? So here are the questions to ponder that I like to give people and that are in the Google Doc. Creatively or musically or both, how do you identify?
I think I would answer it the way I answered earlier, which is I strive to create the desired experience of whoever is either the participant or the listener or the viewer, depending on the medium. So I'm not sure if that's a classification, but yeah, I mean, I'm a drummer. But I think there's a lot of other, like, we use terms, I'm sure, as other people do, like, we get made fun of, like, it's like, I was like totally in the groove with that, and someone's like, what does that mean? You know, and it's like, well, you know, there's a lot of different ways. Or the one that really gets people is like, that was so in the pocket, and they're like, what are you talking about? You know, so there's more feeling in labels, I think, in some of this, you know, the creative space than there are like tangible, like, definitions you can look up, you know, in a book or, you know, on the web or something like that. So it's like, how do you describe a feeling to someone as a label? And I don't know. So drummer, but I'd rather move someone with what I'm doing, and you know, and it doesn't have to be like, wow, that was super technical. Sometimes it's the simplest thing that just has so much heart, and the timing is just there, and it lands just right. And some of that is listening to your audience and knowing, and I like audiences, and I'm an arena, but like people that you're interacting with. It could be one individual person, and if you really see them and listen to them and then put something out there, that could land more than any other educated, scholastic, normal thing you can throw out, you know?
Okay, so. I love this. All right. Second question.
Okay.
Name another important aspect of who you are.
Another important aspect of who I am. I would say I am a connector. And I've more recently leaned into this, especially with some of my male friends. So I tend to usually resonate more with women just because they tend to be more emotionally available, and a lot of men for various reasons that all of us men have had to deal with patriarchy and everything else that's attached to that. Some of that has gotten suppressed, and I think I'm sort of on my own like personal mission to like deconstruct that myself, and it's not a single deconstruction. Like, you just keep finding doors that are shut or things that are resonating as normal, but they're only normal because they were patriarchal. So they were normal in that context, but not in like context outside of that. And yeah, just trying to like build deeper relationships with some of the men that are in my life, and kind of like getting a voice for like, how do we start changing, you know, some of the patterns that we have as men, and like the focus on masculinity and all this other stuff that I think is just, I don't say it's sending us in the wrong direction, but I think it can trip us up and cause us to take longer to get to a place that we all really want to get to, which is better connection with everybody, not just you know, with your male, female, or whatever gender you identify with. But, so yeah, that's kind of like where I've been at lately, and I think I use all the things in my life. You know, whether it be I do some martial arts. I've got the music, I got the drumming. I cycling. So I've got like a bunch of things. I try to find like how do I maximize my connection in all those areas, and where could I be doing better? Where am I really listening to people? Where am I not doing a good job listening to people? So yeah.
I appreciate that so much. All right. Like, I want to dive deeper into 12 things you said, but we're not going to. We're gonna keep with the process.
Okay. You stay with the process.
Yeah. What is a song or poem or tune? Because you and I both know music does not always have words to it.
Sure.
Song implies in the English language there are lyrics to a lot of people. Not everybody, but okay. What is a song, poem, or tune that brings you a feeling of freedom, ease, or delight?
That is a great question. My wife would probably be laughing right now. Back when, we still do it, but she'll always say, "What's your favorite this?" And I just don't have favorites of anything. Because it's like, what's the weather? And is it a good day or a sunny day? It depends on like my mood. So I'm like trying to pin down like one thing that would be freedom to me. It's one of those questions when my mind goes blank. But I will say that what often is freedom to me is being able to, whatever the genre artist is that is calling to me at the moment, to be able to have that space, like a space that's just mine, where I can sit and especially now that I'm trying to be like more connective, like part of it is like connecting to myself, like what am I feeling, what do I need, what don't I need, like let's get rid of that, and being able to like listen to a piece of music, and whether the lyrics are touching and it causes me to cry, or whether the musicality is just so amazing that it just or you just sense that the musicians are just so connected. So, and I think a lot of the freedom, freedom in the external sense, I don't want to say it's a fallacy. I don't want to sound like, the world's coming to an end, it's all burning down. But I much more value where I start to set myself free.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, okay, I want to be emotional for this song right now, but I'm not. Why? Well, because you're a man, and it's like all the stuff. You can't cry, you can't show this, you can't do that. And whenever I sense that in myself, and I'm able to let it go and be who I want to be. Like, if I want to laugh, I'm going to laugh. If I want to cry, I want to cry. If I want to be sad, I'm going to be sad. Like, nothing wrong with that. If I want to be angry at something, because there are lots of things, injustice and stuff, that are worth being angry over. I want to be happy, I'm going to be happy. So I think when I sense that I'm aligned with how I'm feeling and not with the structures I've been told to hold, that's where I feel the freedom. But I feel for where I am right now, it has to be very intentional. Like, I don't get the freedom naturally. I have to think about it and go, you're holding back, you're locked down, you're not, you're there's friction, you're not letting it go. What is it?
Wow.
And I have to process that sometimes longer than others.
I'm going to just reflect back that when you said where I set myself free, that it moved something in me that I'm just like, okay. Thank you.
Just sharing.
Yeah, it's good. So, why might you work on reclaiming creative energy at this time in your life?
Well, I think from a self-care standpoint, I find it very healthy to me. Even when it's solo, like, I have my drums back at my place, and they're electronic because my acoustic drums sound amazing, but my neighbors probably would not appreciate the good acoustics that are in our mill building. So I play through headphones. But there's just something about those days. Like, I have an extra kind of sense of energy where I use different modalities to kind of keep myself sort of physically active and fit. So sometimes I will go to the gym and just I love kettlebells, so I'll be doing kettlebells. Sometimes I'm out on my bike. Sometimes I'll go for a run. sometimes I'm playing drums,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I'm doing martial arts. I kind of
Mm-hmm.
break it up so I don't have just one thing that I rely on that is like my thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the days where I'm like, okay, I already did this the other day, I'm still sore from that. Today's gonna be a drum day.
Yeah.
And there's just something like I just look forward to that in a
Mm-hmm.
different way. Like I look forward to the
Yeah.
other things, but there's something about the creative expression
Mm-hmm.
of something.
Yeah.
And it can be tough because sometimes I will, I'll put on like sometimes I'll just play solo, or sometimes I'll put music on, and I can find myself judging my playing,
Mm-hmm. Oh.
and it starts to take over,
Mm-hmm.
and then my focus becomes on like why am I interpreting it this way? Why am I not feeling whatever?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not always successful in breaking out of that, but
Sure.
oftentimes it's like that's when I just have to go back to like the absolute root of like what moves me
Mm-hmm.
right now, and I'm just going to focus on that. And oftentimes it's the simplest thing,
Mm-hmm.
but I think we can be very conditioned to, complexity sometimes is equated with value.
Mm-hmm.
Like the more complex something is, especially
Yes.
coming from the tech world, like sometimes
Yeah,
like, someone would
yeah.
explain a piece of technology, like they would go off on a tangent,
Mhm.
and I'm like, in my brain, I'm like, I know you need to feel important right now. And I'm not saying that as a
Mhm.
negative thing. Like we all want to be able to show our value,
Mm-hmm.
but there's too much going on. Like, how do you say that in plain English? And I think I get that way. Like sometimes with the drums, I'm like, I've been playing drums since I was 7.
Mm-hmm.
I should be phenomenal, but not every day I feel that way. And some days I'm like, no, I'm not feeling that. And,
Yeah.
and then my value will decrease because of internally, because of how I'm interpreting that.
Yeah.
So I think going and I think figuring out the creativity in all the things I do and not judging myself on any given day. It's like, okay, this is what I had to give today.
Oh, yeah. This is profound. I'm grateful to hear the way you articulate this, because I think a lot of people will resonate with your experience, because the ways we layer critique on ourselves, it's very human.
Yeah, we are very critical.
Yeah, and when we're
beings, or
smart
can be.
people, we can. It's the curse of the humanoid, I would say. And it's a mixed blessing, because sometimes layers of complexity can be fun, and sometimes they can be brutal, and it's often a self-inflicted brutality.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
On the days you would rather not put in effort, because for most people, reclaiming creative energy or any kind of energy requires some amount of effort. It's usually less effort than they think.
Yeah. Yeah.
But on a day you'd rather not put in effort, what will fuel or motivate you?
I think you were saying earlier, or you said a few seconds ago, like you're always putting in some kind of effort.
Yeah.
I think I can get motivated by the possibility. And I think coming from like, having been a coach for 20 plus years, I was often called the uncoach because a lot of athletes overtrain. And there's the you load yourself, then you recover, and then you adapt. But if you never recover, you don't adapt as well, whether that's to endurance, whether that's strength, whether that's speed, whatever the variable is that you're working on. So I think I've come to enjoy the effortless days because I see them as like either emotionally or physically a recovery day. And so much growth happens. And I think I remember it more specifically from music, where back in Berkeley, anyone who's gone to Berkeley may know this, but we have all these practice rooms, and you'd go in and for a drummer, I'd have to lug my drums. We had drum rooms, and you'd bring your whatever drums you could fit in that room, and you would wood shed, as we called it. And oftentimes I'm learning a new pattern, or whatever it is I'm trying to learn, and I'm sitting there, and sometimes it's challenging my dexterity or my muscle memory or whatever it is, and it can be so frustrating. And the more I practice it, like I'll go in a drum room. I used to go in like for 4 hours at a time, and sometimes I would drill the same thing for 4 hours because I wanted it to be no mind. Like I wanted to be able to play that without thinking.
Yeah.
To my earlier point, I want to not be thinking about myself. I want to be thinking and listening to the other musicians. And if I'm too focused on, am I going to play this correctly? I'm no longer participating in the collaborative space. I'm becoming me again. And what I would always find is, and it took a while for it to sink in, I would get to that, whatever, 2 hours, 4 hours of doing this thing. I would get worse and so frustrated. and almost feel like I couldn't play some of the basic things that I used to be able to play. And then I remember I would take a couple of days off and I'd go back into the drum room, and all of a sudden it just is a flow, like flowed to the point of like, I didn't just technically execute that, like I felt it. So I think there's like a parallel to that where sometimes we can force and stay active, and I think creativity sometimes requires quiet and recovery, like to your earlier point about the brain requiring fuel. Like if you get burned out emotionally, you're not going to create a whole, or you're going to create something different. Maybe it's not what you want to create. Long answer to your question. I see them as recovery days. A friend of mine looks at the things that we're going to do as lily pads.
Oh, I love that.
So he always likes to have a lily pad. Him and his partner, like him and his wife, like where are they going to go? So they just finished something very exciting, but sometimes you can feel the excitement and then you drop because the excitement and the emotion and everything. And but if you have a lily pad that you know, like in the next week or two, we're going to go here. It kind of gives you that. Even though you're in a lull and like maybe recovering or whatever it is, you know that there's another place that you're going to go.
I love that. Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, I want to continue with the process and also just make a side note. I love getting to be a yoga teacher again, especially in the gym where I'm training one more rep, and I'll soon, I think in the fall, I'll be teaching for Down Under Yoga, and which is a bigger, lots of different spaces here in Boston and around Boston proper. But what I love about being in a yoga space is that while the principles of yoga are free and there's lots of stuff online, and a lot of people do like to go to a place where someone reminds them your body has a wisdom within it. And that wisdom is innate. If you're injured right now or you're exhausted, I want to remind you that you have a couple of poses that are resting postures, and staying in one or alternating between resting postures might be exactly what you need. You can even fall asleep on your yoga mat, right? And this is so beautiful to be reminded of resting.
We had two types of recovery that we would use. Those are common, we didn't make any of these up. But there was, regular recovery, which was you're doing nothing. So like in cycling, it was like, if you don't have to stand, you sit. If you don't have to sit, you lie down. The most, I'm going to say this with a caveat, but the most healthy kind of recovery was active recovery, because you were still, in that case, moving your muscles, but you were doing it without load. And it was more creating the fluidity and like keeping the joints loose and kind of bringing blood flow back. Maybe being in that pose, even though you're not moving and you're falling asleep, you're still actively in a pose. But there are times you have to know when you're beyond active recovery and you need full-on recovery. And that's going to be tough when someone is very driven and creative, because you get the guilt of, I'm not creating right now. I'm not doing whatever I'm supposed to be doing. But first, try active recovery. And if active recovery, whatever that means, maybe that's, if you're an artist, maybe it's like, I'm going to grab my sketch pad and just doodle. I'm going to grab a napkin. I'm going to make it even less official. I'm going to sit in a cafe and draw on a napkin. And just keep it as rudimentary and as disconnected from my official way of expressing myself.
I love
And maybe some days it's like, put all your tools away
Yeah.
and go for a walk. Just do something different.
Yeah. I love this. This is good. All right. The sixth question.
Okay.
Can you identify any interfering beliefs that are ready to be released?
And when you say released, you mean like me letting them go or me sharing them?
You letting them go.
I don't know, I'm just gonna throw it out there. It's gonna sound a bit heavy, but I think this is tied to the ADHD and the Vyvanse that I mentioned earlier, is the belief that I'm not a loving, nurturing person. I think one of the fears I had before getting on this ADHD med was I kind of held a level of control in my life. So like people saw me as, someone that I got along with everybody. I was always serving people. Like I loved doing that, whatever it was. But there was a part of me, because of my dad, who was like such an evil kind of person, and no longer on the planet, or at least not living. I feared that I would be him, like in some way.
Wow. Okay.
And the thing that this journey with the ADHD has given me is like it gave me no choice. Like it stripped that control away, which was super scary. And I'm like, okay, and I'm like looking in the basement, like what's down there? And it turns out that I'm a more like caring, affectionate person. So like that's like been a huge relief. And like there's like I know it and letting it go, but there's still like I can look in the mirror sometimes and think I'm gonna look like my dad, and I don't look like my dad. But like that's like how ingrained that kind of thinking can get. And obviously it's been a big turning point in like a lot of my relationships where I've been more available, listening better because I'm not worried about myself. Kind of going back to like some of the music analogies we were making. But I think the healthiest thing is it's allowed me to kind of like I don't know, just resonate with being a person who can be loving, and it's not like I'm all of a sudden all knowing and understanding. Like I'm not. Like I find myself in a more inquisitive mode than ever. But I think that's also a product of me wanting to really know people. And it's not that I didn't want to know people before, but I think like to the freedom part, like I felt like I wasn't free. Like if I started expressing myself, then maybe people would find out more about who I am, and maybe this other side of me that I've been keeping, that I thought I was keeping at bay, will come out. So like to let that whole thing go, or at least at the beginnings of it, to start like kicking it out the door, and maybe it's multiple pieces. So I'm like throwing stuff out the window and stuff out the door and stuff out the garage and whatever. But yeah, so it's been a big part of my last, I'd say, 6 months.
That's really beautiful that you're, and I want to name one of my favorite professors from undergrad, Dr. Raymond Van Loen, who is also not on the planet anymore, who did a beautiful job of talking in Old Testament class.
Okay.
In this fairly conservative Christian space, Eastern College, now Eastern University, but fairly liberal as well. It has kind of a mix of the conservative and the liberal-minded Christian vibe. And he wrote and spoke very profoundly about original blessing, superseding the idea of curse as it is invoked in the stories of the book of Genesis. And this idea that we are blessed, and that being more powerful than this idea of original like evil, that we are cursed as a species. I am so grateful that he spoke so powerfully of that. And you and I both have gone through some trauma in religious spaces, and it's a beautiful thing to realize we are blessed, right?
It's very much like a deficit life. Like you're starting at a deficit. And you spend so much time like trying to earn something, depending on what it is. And that's where your energy goes, as opposed to being like letting your creativeness go. But you can't always do that, because the space. Like one of the things I really believe is that, they always tell you you can learn better when you're younger, or learn faster. And like part of me is like, no, I think you can learn just as fast as an adult. It's just that you have to unlearn more things.
I think that's true.
You have to let something go before you can let something come in, or if it's a thought that you've held. Like opposing thoughts have a hard time getting through until you let the one controlling thought go. And then you can either take that thought back because maybe it was a good thought, or you can open up your mind to other opportunities or other options for thinking a different way, or thinking, maybe you don't even have to think a different way, but I want to be able to understand how someone else is thinking. And it's hard to do that when your brain says, no, this is the only way to think.
Right.
Which, of course, we all know is not true, but that's, we're the
Yeah, yeah.
we're the main character in our own
Yeah.
story, so that's
It's true.
that's how that
It's
works.
true. I love this. Who will benefit from your healing or reclaiming work?
Well, I think, obviously I will benefit from it, just being able to be myself and become more of myself. But I'm hoping, like anybody, like I'm around. And what's interesting is, I've been in this tech design space, and my discipline of user experience design has taken a hit over the last couple of years, with AI and like a lot of layoffs, and so my market is really cut down. But I had worked my way up. I'd become a director and an executive director and a VP, and I was under this illusion that the more sort of the higher level I got in an organization, the more agency I would have to make change. And what I realized is that was not true, at least from my journey. Other people maybe have different experiences. And what happened for me was I got farther and farther away from the things I loved, which were the people, the product or service, and there's another thing. Oh, I guess the people being two, either my team, like I wanted to be accessible for my team, and then the people that we were serving, whatever the product or service served. And I wound up in this like leadership echelon where like we weren't the ones doing the work, like, and we became more and more disconnected from the work. So the reason I say that is my mind has changed now, and as I'm healing and kind of reconsidering and throwing out things that just don't serve me anymore, I find that it's the individual engagement, like being a safe place for someone is huge. Like I love being able to do that, and that's hard too as a an older white male. Like I have white privilege, but I also come with, I'm an older white male, which in general we are not safe people. Males in general are not safe people, but older white men, not safe people. So I'm fighting against that. I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody, but I do understand that. Like, I have to over index sometimes in making people feel safer, because I can be inherently for face value unsafe.
Thanks for naming that, because as someone who has experienced harm from a lot of male bodies, of all different shades of skin, but especially those with white privilege, I appreciate you naming it. I will say, to me, my experience of you is that you're a very safe, warm, kind, compassionate, and also careful male who has these various degrees of privilege. So thank you for being one of those people in my life as a friend. What small, or maybe large, time-specific goal do you think you might want to work toward as you reclaim your creative energy in months or weeks to come?
Well, part of this is on my sort of career journey as to where do I go next. And what I'm trying to do is like kind of look at sort of like the sum total of who I am, and what makes me tick, and what allows me to really enjoy others. And I think the things that have resonated with me most is things that are in sort of the learning and development space, like mentoring. Like I have a mentor who I've known for 20 something years. He's amazing. And I think it goes back to that individual impact. Warning.
Is that your phone?
That is my phone.
Okay, I'm like, I don't think my phone makes that sound. But
I guess I'm glad I said that, because I feel like we can talk for hours.
We can talk for hours, and we're getting close to the end of like the hour. That usually this podcast is about an hour. Sometimes it goes to an hour and 15 minutes, and that's the final question. But you're thinking about your career right now. I know that you and your wife just moved. So you and I both have that. We share that. We're kind of in this like life transition space in terms of spatial things. I want to give you the space to articulate, though. Is there like a particular definable small goal for you?
I think it's to try to like one of the things that my mentor had said, because I talked to him, about sort of, we talk about everything, but we were talking about career stuff. And, I was still looking in my sort of field, if you will. And, he's like, sometimes you drive your car, it's your favorite car. And then at some point the car gets too old, like you've repaired it, you've bondoed it, you did everything you do to keep that car running, but it's no longer whatever.
Right.
But you're still a driver, and you're going to take whatever you have and you're going to put it into a different vehicle, and then you're going to move forward with that other vehicle. So it's like, what is the vehicle? So I think the smaller goals are to look at some different ways that I can explore either the learning space, the teaching space. I love to teach, the mentoring space, things that kind of allow me to like share like a lot of my journey, not in like, hey, I want to talk about myself, but I want people to understand that maybe what the challenges that they're going through, the fears that they have, the pain that they're in, number one, does not have to continue forever. And oftentimes, if the pain doesn't go away, the judgment and the stuff that we put on ourselves can be minimized drastically. Which in a sense is like, the pain is the pain, but I think we really overload ourselves with worry and fear and hopelessness and a whole bunch of other things that it's just unnecessary baggage.
So I think you're saying you're looking at new opportunities for yourself. And that's good. You and I are in a similar space around that. I love it. Let's do a little bit of playing in terms of voice and reclamation work, because we're both musicians.
Sure. I'm not a singer.
Well, you don't identify as a singer, but often musicians who have been close to singers, and you're a drummer, they usually can sing, even if it's not the thing that they do like and feel most competent at, right? Sure. I am a huge believer that getting outside of our sphere of competency is one of the best ways we can have fun, but also like, try on something new.
Sounds good.
So do you want to sing something?
Yeah, let's give it a go.
We have some lyrics next to us that I grabbed before we started.
I'm assuming you know these by heart. So.
Yeah. So in this process that, I've printed the Google Doc, I'll link it in the notes to this episode. The first thing, what is the first thing to do in this process?
In this process?
Yeah, in the process that I'm using via the Google Doc.
Okay. Well, what does it say there? Notice sensation.
Yeah, so I want you to notice the sensation in your body as we're doing this.
Yeah, a little bit of nervousness,
Okay, what does nervousness feel like in your body?
Well, I think there's that fear of like making a fool of yourself or whatever, or sounding silly. Or whatever.
And hearing what your internal narrative is. Tell me about your body. What do you feel?
I think it can feel like there's an energy there, but it's like almost like a nervous energy. Like I don't know where it's gonna go.
Okay, all right, cool. All right.
And I'm one of those musicians that like I will get on stage, and I don't usually have like any. Like I'm excited about it, but I just let it. Once I'm on stage, it happens, and I'm not thinking about it anymore. But it's before I'm on stage that I'm thinking about it. So I'm in that before I'm on stage moment.
So you notice the energy. Let's both take a breath and notice. I like to close my eyes. Not everyone likes to. Notice where you feel the greatest concentration of energy in your body, like somatically.
I'd say for me, it's the center of my chest.
Center of your chest. Interesting. I'm feeling it in the solar plexus as well. It's like in my chest. Did something just fall?
One of your friends.
Oh, nice. Something just fell.
They want to participate.
It was up on top of that. I was feeling it like through my shoulder blades. So you and I are kind of in the same area. You're feeling chest. I'm feeling.
It's like sternum.
Yeah. Okay. So we're both in heart space, right? Solar plexus. And it's a heart energy, which is this energy is associated with the fourth chakra, and also like this area is technically the third chakra, but it's all very like most of us have like intermingling sensation. Good. So we're gonna breathe, and we're gonna sing. Okay. Do you want to start?
No, just being totally honest.
Okay. I'm happy to start if you'd rather not. But
my challenge with music's like I'll go to these like karaoke nights, and I always have a hard time finding music because I'm in a lyrical baritone. So most things are out of they're either somewhat in my range, but if they go too high or too low, I'm out. So I have like, yeah, there's a weird range. So that's one of my fears, I think. I was
Well,
like, oh great, we're gonna pick a
well, it
key.
might be good for you to choose, like, just sing whatever comes out of you then.
Yeah, I'm a drummer. I don't know keys.
That's good. I don't like them either because I grew up in Hawaii and sang just a lot of a cappella. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, why don't you? Well, you hear the timbre of my voice, so maybe you can pick.
Yeah.
You probably have a more of a knowledgeable way of picking a starting key than I do, or a starting point.
Yeah. Well, why don't we start here?
Okay.
Read those words. Just read them.
Okay. Well, let's let it be. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom. Let it be.
Beautiful. Sometimes just talking is a really good place to start. If I sing it in this key, see if you can match me.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Am I going to sing with you, or are you going to sing and then I'm going to sing?
Sing with me.
Okay.
And if it's not wanting to come out, that's totally fine.
Okay.
When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Nice.
That's a good key.
Yeah, good. Keep singing.
Okay. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be.
I like the singing.
When I held it up to the light, all the words from the back of the page
I know,
came through, and
I know.
I'm like, oh my god.
This is me being a little too careful with, like, there's some release for something.
Very good use of recycled paper.
I know,
except I held it up to light, and I'm like, there's all these words that I know are not part of the song.
Okay.
But I just had to let it be, so.
You had to let it be. Let's pretend I did that on purpose. Okay. So let's sing together the chorus.
Okay, let's see, chorus on one. Okay, there you go.
Go ahead and start.
Let it be,
let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. Nice. Okay. This is so joyful to me, at least, to sing with you. How's it feeling for you?
Good. Yeah, it always takes me like a while to get into like a rhythm. So I can definitely feel like loosening up. Good. So this is kind of the check-in point in the process. Like, are you feeling okay? I'm feeling good, but I don't want. Okay, good. All right. And I appreciate you picked the key that I didn't have to.
Well, you actually picked the key because you started speaking, and I was like, okay, where can he match me? And then I just kind of intuitively started singing fairly low for me.
Okay.
You also said lyric baritone. I have no idea what key we're in right now. I don't have perfect pitch, but we're doing something that feels comfortable.
Sure.
So for today, we're just gonna finish the song.
Okay.
Okay.
I want to stay on this page.
Yeah. So we're at verse 2.
Okay.
Why don't you sing that on your own, and then I'll come and sing with you. I might add a little harmony.
If you can start it, because actually the melodic part of it sometimes gets my brain.
Okay, this is good. All right. And when the broken-hearted people living in the world agree, there will be an answer, let it be. For though they may be parted, there is still a chance that they will see. There will be an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be. And I, like, on that song sheet, and I've used this with a number of different community singing groups. You know, we repeat the first chorus one more time. That was so lovely. Yeah. Oh. Thank you for singing with me.
Oh, yeah.
Thank
you for asking.
Yeah.
Getting me out of my shell.
Yeah. Well, Tom, Scotto, we're going to link to you as a human in all of the ways we know how.
Excellent.
I love that we just made music together, and I think that anybody who hears you sing and knows that you also can do all of the other things that you've listed you do, maybe kind of like, let me hire that man. One thing that's very real is that everybody responds to different energies, right? nobody should go into any profession thinking like, I need to be good at every single aspect of everything,
Yeah.
and everybody's going to want to hire me for all of infinity and beyond, right? I know that the way I work with humans, and that, well, first of all, I know that my work is primarily with humans directly, and that I can work with small groups, but also I've directed courses of 100 plus.
Mm-hmm.
So I pendulate between the individual and group work.
Okay.
I think you are similar in this
Yeah.
way. You've worked with groups, you've worked with individuals. Also, at different points in our life, we need different things,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Sure.
So we both get that. And I think I would hire you as a life coach if I wanted a life coach right now, because I think the aspects of athleticism, also human connection,
Mm-hmm.
like all of these ways of being, different people need different voices and kind, compassionate approaches
Sure.
to figure out what they need, right? I know that because I worked with survivors of major trauma for my last career, that's not what I'm going to be doing while I'm recovering from my own major trauma
Sure.
that I experienced over the past little while. And maybe later in my career, I'll want to come back to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's why I'm kind of like, I'm branding as a life coach again,
Okay.
right?
All
If someone gets too deep into really high trauma, I'll name to them resources and therapists to help them, right? Because I've got plenty of connections in that world.
Sure.
Is there anything else you would want to talk about to our audience? We'll see this on Monday or later, about you or any sensings that are worth noting right now.
I mean, I think at another time, if you're willing to have another conversation, like there's
Mm-hmm.
there's definitely things in sort of the the world of sort of religion and spirituality that I think has
Yeah.
has taken people in different directions, some
Yeah.
in ways they don't want to go.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot, a lot of our world is wrapped around and controlled
Yeah.
by the beliefs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and I think there's just a lot of I don't want to get into world politics. That's not necessarily my jam.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is my jam, and we all have to be a part of it and be active. But I think it's more the individual and how the individual has been either stifled or hurt
Mm-hmm.
or has lost their freedom as a result of belief systems that have been that they've been exposed
Yeah.
to. So.
I'm glad that you say this because when we originally talked about this conversation, we said we might really focus on this aspect of religious trauma. So I like the idea that we'll have another conversation, and maybe we'll set a date for the fall to do that.
That'd be great.
I think what's real is that in spiritual spaces, a lot of people have wonderful experiences, and many people have very complex experiences.
Sure.
And that's part of being human, and the fact that in spiritual spaces, the humans who are involved and in leadership are human.
Sure.
And knowing our limitations as leaders and as humans, we get better at that over time,
Sure.
right? And I really think you have profound things to offer, as do I, in the realm of religious and spiritual trauma.
Sure.
And speaking to that more fully, I think I can be a life coach who specializes in that a little bit. And I think you could be too if you wanted to be,
Yeah.
So that'll be something you and I talk about more over time, I'm sure, because you and I check in pretty regularly as friends.
Yeah,
But
we'll
also,
figure it out.
yeah,
We have a few topics
we do.
we can riff
So
on.
we'll get into that more at
I think
some
next
point
time
soon.
too, if you let me instead of sing, I can give me some pots and pans, and I'll put a rhythm behind something.
Yes, we're gonna do some drumming too. I love this, and I know plenty of other we'll do a thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love this. Well, I know you probably don't need a stuffy in your new home, but if you want one, this one
We
jumps.
have a no new stuff. We have an
You have-
entire stuffy family.
So no new stuffies.
No,
So
we
this
just got
is
a
staying
new
here.
spot for them all to live. So yeah, we have no new stuffies.
Oh, maybe at the ride, this stuffy will be part of maybe a gift basket to people who are supporting the Team 44 Collaborative, because we are going to have a little basket of things at that
Just
ride.
have a basket on your bike, and whoever needs
needs a
whatever,
stuffy,
you just
you're ready.
provide it in that
I love that.
real time.
I love that. And more info about Ride for the Cure will be there too, because we're looking I think it would be pretty effing cool if we cured diabetes. I mean, there's always lifestyle pieces, but I'd love it if Big Pharma turned their attention to things like curing diabetes in the next decade or two.
That'd be wonderful.
We cured leprosy in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Let's cure diabetes.
Let's keep going.
All right. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
You're the best.
No, you're the best.
We're going to do a fist bump to end this
There we
convo.
go.
All right. Let me turn the camera off.